Hello everyone, welcome to English 1101 and 1101P. I'm going to be your professor for these 8 weeks. My name's Hogan Shack. You can refer to me in emails as Mr. Shack. You'll see how to spell that in your syllabus. As I understand it, none of you signed up for an online class originally, but here we are with everything the way it is. You're some brave souls out there doing classes over the summer, even though things are up in the air. So we're all going to work through this together. A little bit about myself. I am from Portland, Oregon, grew up there, but was born in Pocatello, left here at a very young age. Now I'm back to complete my PhD. I've studied and have degrees in biblical theology and English literature with a focus on Native American studies. I live here with my wife, love TV and music and movies and do podcasts on those things. Brew beer, try to live well, try not to work too hard, but have a lot of fun doing the work I do, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing this work here. This class is going to be asynchronous, which means that we will not be meeting over Zoom or in person. The P section will be meeting over Zoom once a week. Check your syllabus for a time on that. But we're going to be meeting mostly just whenever you post stuff and I reply to it. This is my first totally asynchronous class, so we're going to work through it together. Whatever feedback you want to give me would be appreciated. There's a forum at the top of the class page where you're welcome to leave any comments you have for how this class could run more smoothly. And you'll be able to get to know me a little bit through some of the lectures I do here, weekly videos that I'll post, as well as through Zoom. If you ever want to meet with me, just contact me and let me know. And we'll have special optional meetings for Zoom if you want to meet and talk about paper prompts. The class is set up so that we have 4 sections, 8 weeks. So every 2 weeks there's a paper due or a major assignment. We'll have a midterm due at week 4. An 8-week online course is a lot of work. A 16-week course condensed into 8 weeks in person is a whole lot of work. So you're going to need to keep up and communicate with me right away because we don't want you to fall behind. It'll be really hard to catch up. I'm going to be there for you. I'll respond within 24 hours at all times, usually much sooner than that. So don't feel shy. I would recommend that you check the syllabus for any questions that you have before you contact me. It's a very comprehensive syllabus and it should have most of the information that you need. But this course isn't going to have any fluff in it. We're not going to spend any time doing any busy work. It's going to be short but very well written essays that you'll be reading, combined with very short sections of textbook that are going to just contain the information that you need. If you have any questions as you're answering my prompts for the assignments, feel free to contact me. Those are times where I can help you out and clarify things. I've written the prompts to be as engaging and as useful as possible. I really want whatever you learn in my class to transcend the class and just become part of your life, become a skill that you use to think about things from movies to TV to reading and writing to anything really. And the works that we're going to be studying are going to ask you to think about things that you haven't thought before or in ways that you've never thought about things before. If you're wondering why I keep looking down, I have my notes here. I'm not used to recording videos yet. Hopefully we'll get better at that as we go. You're going to have roughly the same assignment layout every week. I made it pretty simple for you. So take a look through that. That should be easy enough. Your syllabus explains the requirements for the class. You're going to be required in the very first week here to participate in a forum where you confirm that you have read that syllabus thoroughly and agree with it. And I will not be grading any of your work until you've done that. I need to know that you have a good idea what this class is and that you agree to what's being expected of you. And then you'll notice right under the syllabus on the home page, before we go into week 1, there is a document called Some Guidelines. This is going to lay out all of the grading guidelines for assignments that are not completely clear in the syllabus, very specific guidelines for your journal writing, for your quizzes, for your weekly video responses. So give that a thorough read as well. If you have any questions about how I'm going to be grading, it's all laid out right there. A lot of the writing for this class is going to be informal response by way of journals and multiple choice quizzes that just make sure you get information. Those are really simple. The journals are a huge part of your grade, so don't fall behind on those and take them very seriously. That's where you're going to learn all the skills that you need to write your major papers, which are going to have more strict guidelines for how you format them. So yeah, the goals for my class, as I mentioned, are that this be fun and useful to you in the rest of your life. I hate textbooks. You probably hate textbooks. I assigned the smallest, cheapest textbook possible. You'll be reading pages of it that are very important and very intentionally planned to help you with this course. They're going to list and give you examples of writing moves and reading moves that will make all the difference in whether or not you succeed in this course. And then I'm going to have to ask you up front to give the readings I give you the benefit of the doubt. Some of them will be strange, some of them will challenge your beliefs. Some of them will be written in ways that are unfamiliar to you, so your first reaction might be, this is dumb, or I'm not smart enough for this. They are not dumb. They are all written well and have a lot to teach you, and you are not dumb. I have taught these texts many times, and very rarely does a student not understand them. I would say 100% of the time a student tries to understand these texts, they end up succeeding. And it's a very empowering feeling. So I hope that you are able to do that as you respond to the journals. So what you can look forward to for a given week is your introduction, video response, probably a quiz, probably an essay reading, journal responses, and then something related to a major assignment. And then you'll have some optional things. There are things that aren't required for the course, such as instructional videos that I think are helpful. If you are working through the journals and you understand everything and can respond to it, these optional videos might not be very important to you. If you get hung up, check out the optional videos and optional readings. They'll probably help you understand the concept that you're having trouble with. We all learn a little bit differently. If you're someone who learns well by reading and responding, you're going to excel at this. If you're someone who learns better by watching videos, I'm trying to include videos in the optional section so that you have multiple ways of understanding what I'm asking you to do. So see those, and in a given week, if you're still having trouble with understanding a concept, even though there's videos and all that, let me know. See if I can help you out. Let me know if you need a video for something that you don't have. I can probably find it or make it. For this week, I'll have you sign your contract, letting me know that you agree to the course. We'll do introductions, which is a fun little forum that I've set up, and it's going to work into what we're doing for the first 2 weeks toward the first essay. You'll see my post there, and you can base your forum post on that. It's not going to require a ton of thinking. It should be fun. We'll get to know each other a little bit. You're obviously watching this video. You'll respond to that. There's very clear, easy guidelines for those responses. They shouldn't take too much of your time every week. You will have a Little Seagull Handbook, or in the course LSH reading. I've posted the reading for this week as a PDF, but you are expected by the university to own this textbook. So for the next 7 weeks, there will not be a posted reading. You'll be expected to own a hard copy of the book. And then every week there's going to be a quiz assigned, multiple choice, on that reading. These quizzes are not hard. They're meant to highlight the information that will be most helpful to you every week as you're going to be moving towards writing your papers. So I really want you to focus not on stressing out about getting the right answer, but instead on learning the information that I've specifically put in there. You have unlimited attempts to get the answers right on these because I just want you to know the answers and have them handy. You're going to have an essay reading every week. This week is an essay called Consider the Lobster by a man named David Foster Wallace. It's an excellent essay. It's going to be challenging, and I'll speak about it a little bit after I've finished with the weekly update. You're going to have 2 journal responses. Most weeks you'll have 2 journal responses. These are going to teach you the reading skills that you need moving towards writing essay 1. My philosophy is that if you can read well, you'll learn to think well, and if you can read and think well, you can copy the moves that you learn reading and thinking, and then write well and thoroughly. And it hasn't let me down yet. I think you'll find it very rewarding. A lot of what we're doing is going to be learning rules and then learning how people break those rules or use those rules to say really fascinating things. Also this week you'll be reading your prompt for paper number 1, and I'd like you to read the example as well. The prompt is pretty loose. I'm very open to how you interpret it and how you respond to it. You're going to be basing the writing moves you make off of the 2 essays that we read over the next 2 weeks. And I'll be speaking more in depth about that in the next video. But I'll also take a really close look at the example paper. It has my feedback on it to a student who accomplished this assignment and did it very well, and then there's also one without my comments that's also very well done and meets all of the goals of the paper. You'll notice that they're very different papers. This is not about you filling out a template, it's about you learning how to write. So take a good close look at those prompts. Also, you'll be able to schedule a Zoom meeting with me for next week about paper 1. If it's stressing you out, if it's unclear, I will meet with you face to face. We can talk out how you're going to write this first paper. And there's also just going to be an open forum where you can post questions about the paper if you don't want to meet on Zoom. And I'll answer the question in the forum as thoroughly as possible, and it'll be open to the whole class so that everyone can see what concerns have arisen and what answers have come up. So this is how most weekly videos are going to go. I know I posted that they could be pretty long, like a half an hour long at normal. I'll try to keep it a little under that. I know that most people's attention spans for educational videos are not long, but most people's attention spans for reading and writing aren't long either, and that's only going to be harmful to you, I think not only in school, but I believe in your life. If you can pay close attention to something over a long period of time and you're reading something that's very well written, you're going to learn a lot more than if you just skimmed it. If you can watch a movie and pay close attention for 2 hours, you can understand it and ask questions that'll blow your mind. If you can listen to these videos, you're going to pick up a lot of information that's crucial to the class, and I hope you're going to find some footholds into reading these essays that are coming up that are challenging. Usually in a face-to-face English classroom, we can sit around in a circle, which I like to do, and we can discuss what frustrated you, what your questions were, what you understood. I can push back and ask questions. And generally, we all come to see that a text has a lot more going on than at first glance. It takes a long period of engagement. You have to read that text well and then show up and engage with others. And it really helps if you can do that for one extended period of time. For this class especially, for school in general, but for online education especially, you're going to need to put aside long stretches of time where you can focus on your schoolwork without distraction, if this is possible for you. It'll be most useful as you write papers, because following a strain of thought when you're writing a paper is very important, otherwise you can get lost and frustrated. But it'll also be important as you read, and I think it'll be important as you write your responses to the readings. So yeah, make room, make time for yourself to be alone. Make sure your social media and stuff is shut off, get the distractions out of the way. That's where this is going to be most rewarding and engaging for you. So I'm going to ask you to read hard text. It'll take a while. I'm going to ask you to respond to challenging questions. It'll take a while. I'm going to ask you to watch a video that may be a half an hour long once a week. I know that you probably watch a lot more videos than that of things that are entertaining, and I trust that you can make it through these videos. And I'll try to make them maybe not entertaining. I'm not the most entertaining person maybe, but I'll make them engaging and thoughtful, and I'll try to cut out any fluff. I really want these texts to have a chance to change your life, maybe sit with you for a few years as you think about the ideas in them. Maybe you'll be drawn to come back to them once you've picked up more reading and writing skills. I know I've done that, and it's been amazingly rewarding. So, I'm going to go into some notes on Consider the Lobster, highlight some things for the essay this week that might help you start engaging with it, and then we'll call it good for this week. So, Consider the Lobster by David Foster Wallace is such a strange essay. You'll see in the prompt that I wrote that it's written for a magazine called Gourmet, that's a food magazine, but he writes this article in such a way that he challenges readers of this food magazine as to whether or not they should even be eating the foods they're cooking. These readers expect to be learning recipes, to be learning about fun festivals they can go attend. They don't expect to be challenged on whether or not they should even be reading the magazine or eating the food. It's a very strange concept. So audience is very important for Wallace, which is something that you'll respond to in your journals. I want to go ahead and zoom in real quick on the very first paragraph, just to help you see how the writing engages the reader right away, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of how you can write your first essay. You're going to be writing stories and descriptions, so I hope this will give you some idea of how to introduce a reader to a place. So I'm just going to read the very first paragraph here on page 50. You can follow along with me, you can pause this, or you can just listen. The enormous, pungent, and extremely well-marketed Maine Lobster Festival is held every late July in the state's mid-coast region, meaning the western side of Penobscot Bay, the nerve stem of Maine's lobster industry. What's called the mid-coast runs from Owl's Head and Thompson in the south to Belfast in the north. Actually, it might extend all the way up to Bucksport, but we were never able to get farther than Belfast on Route 1, whose summer traffic is, as you can imagine, unimaginable. The region's two main communities are Camden, with its very old money and yachty harbor, and five-star restaurants and phenomenal B&Bs, and Rockland, a serious old fishing town that hosts the festival every summer in historic Harbor Park, right along the water. So that's the end of the first paragraph. All we're doing is being introduced so far to the setting for this lobster festival that Wallace has attended and now is writing about. But you'll notice that he makes a writing move which you're going to be asked to make in various ways in this upcoming essay. He moves from the abstract to the concrete. This is a core reading and writing move, one of the base blocks of good writing. He starts as abstractly as the Maine Lobster Festival, just this idea of a festival, and then says that it's on the mid-coast region of Penobscot Bay in Maine, so we're getting closer. And then throughout the next few sentences, he gets down to Owl's Head, Thompson, specific cities, all the way down to how the traffic is in those cities, all the way down to how one city is kind of low class and stinky, and the other city has all of the fancy restaurants and all the rich people go and live there. So we're getting right down to actually being in this place. You can imagine, if you like, as the intro of a movie where the camera starts zoomed out over a large area and slowly zooms in until you're focused on a house or a person or what have you. You're setting the scene for an entire slurry of ideas that Wallace is about to present to you so that you can be there. The more details he feeds you to look at, the more abstract ideas that you can then follow him through. He gives the reader exactly what they expect. They expect to be invited into this lovely setting of Maine with the Lobster Festival. So he makes them feel at home, he meets their expectations, he keeps them reading, they're interested, this is what they are used to and what they want. but he uses meeting those expectations to go on to do some strange things. He transitions into talking about the history of the lobster, the scientific names of the lobster's nervous system. We get into all sorts of different details that you don't expect. And he keeps the reader interested by switching back and forth from talking about these strange details to talking about the festival in detail. So you give the reader what they want, but then also add a little something new, give them something to think about. And in this way, by moving from back and forth from these different subjects to the festival itself, Wallace finds the space to talk about the morality of even eating a lobster. Crazy idea, right, for this specific magazine. And he does it in depth. You'll notice by talking about the history and science of the lobster, all of a sudden it's not a food, it's not the topic of a festival as it has been in the first few paragraphs. Now it's a foreign object with a weird Latin name that looks like an insect and that prisoners used to hate to even eat. And now that we have all these specific details, all of these concrete details about the lobster that clash with what we usually think of a lobster as, high-class food, right? He's now able to move from those details to an abstract thought and question like, is it okay to eat lobster? Should we even want to, since they have historically been so disgusting? Why do we eat them in the first place? Do they suffer? The crux of his entire paper. And do we have a responsibility to stop killing them if they do suffer? So he's able to move to these abstract questions and explore them through thought by giving us all these concrete details that open up our mind. You could say that it's like the evidence to his arguments, his explorations, right? We have concrete evidence and abstract thoughts and arguments, and he's put them together so that they make sense and so that they're convincing to us. And this abstract and concrete is an idea that you'll be working with closely in your first paper. You'll also notice that Wallace never tries to offend anyone. He's not trying to manipulate people into believing what he believes. He's just trying to draw in readers who would be resistant to what he has to say by meeting them halfway. He doesn't really ever come off as condescending or mean. In fact, if you're put off by this essay and by the content of the essay, take a second to think about the end of it. At the end of the essay, Wallace goes so far as to say, I've thought through all these things, evidence is heavy in the favor that I shouldn't be eating lobsters, but I'm going to keep eating them? It's a messy place to end an essay at, but it's such an interesting place to end it. He has more questions. The reason he even looks into this in the first place is because his conscience tells him this doesn't seem quite right, and you'll see that he describes that in the first few pages. And so he takes his conscience seriously and does real investigative and journalistic research into if lobsters suffer, how they get cooked, their history, everything to inform his decision on whether or not he should keep following his conscience or if that was just a dead end. And hopefully by him describing it and moving back and forth from this concrete to the abstract, you'll also go on that journey. I have to ask you with a lot of these essays to put aside your preconceptions, to resist the urge to stop reading or to immediately resist ideas that seem dumb to you or that are foreign to you. A large part of this class is teaching you how to read, and teaching you how to read is teaching you how to listen to things that you don't know. Things that you don't know could scare you, confuse you, offend you, and in any of those circumstances, most of our immediate reactions are to shut down and to stop listening. And maybe that happens to you as you read Wallace for the first time. I've had countless students come to class saying, I hated it, I read the whole thing, Wallace is dumb, I can't believe he would tell me not to eat lobster. And we go straight to that final paragraph where we see that Wallace was following his conscience in doing this investigation, but by the end, he's still eating lobster, and he's still confused. So his interest isn't in preaching to you like someone from PETA. in the article, he even says the people from PETA were pretty dumb. He actually wants to take you on an investigative journey and open your mind up to new ideas, just as he was trying to do. Because there is a potential in that space, in whatever you're investigating, that your life will change for the better. And there's a principle, one that I believe in and one that we'll explore further in this class later, that violating your conscience is about the worst thing that you can do. Most writers realize that. That's a base of what they do in their writing. So they write to explore where their conscience takes them, and they see what they learn from that and if it changes their life. So give this article a shot, give other articles a shot, respond to the questions as thoroughly as possible in your journals, and then for next week's video I'll go ahead and speak more about paper expectations, about Souls on Ice, the essay for next week. We'll talk more about the abstract and the concrete. I'd highly recommend you watch the optional video on the abstract and the concrete. It's very helpful in understanding this concept. As you work through your journals, hopefully you'll come to understand it better as well. But that's it for this week. If you have any questions, please leave them in the forum at the top of the class, or leave them in the Paper 1 forum, and I will try to address them for video number 2. I look forward to getting to know all of you through your journals and through the introductory forum. I hope that you are able to enjoy this class and to stay healthy and safe during this time. Bye.